Practice Intimacy. I'm Jami Lynn, and today we're going to be talking about emotions. There's three big things that I want to cover today around emotional intimacy, which is the ability to share your emotions with another person. What we'll go through is, first, why do emotions matter? What's important about being connected to your emotional world? We'll go a little in depth into the neuroscience of emotions, what's actually happening in the brain and body when you're having an emotional experience. And then I'm going to give you a practice, something to do by yourself and with a partner to begin really exercising the ability to share your emotions well and be more vulnerable, open, intimate in this area. Before we get into any of that, let's start with just a basic definition of what emotions are. And I'll begin by saying that we don't actually have a good definition yet. Neuroscientists, psychologists, everyone's talking about what exactly are emotions. What do we mean whenever we say we feel something? And while there's a lot of research into this, there is not a definite, clear definition. And so the best definition I have right now is that emotions are a felt sense of the world. They are the thing that both motivates us to do any action, any behavior, and they are the thing that provides knowledge about the world. My emotional experience, whether I'm excited to be out in the world or sad or scared or lonely, is a certain knowing about what it means to be alive. And so emotions are simultaneously both the drive and motivation behind all behavior, and it's the unique and individual knowing that every single person has about the world. Why do they matter? What's important about emotions? The biggest thing to know is that without emotions, human beings would not do anything. Without an internal drive motivating a person to get out of bed, go to work, be with their family, take vacations, we wouldn't actually do any of these things. And we know this through some really interesting research, mainly in the medical field, where people with traumatic brain injuries in the areas that affect emotional knowing, what happens is people appear to be in comas. So they're not speaking, they're not reacting to anything, whether it's bed sores or a family member coming in the room. And yet the rest of their brain is functioning completely normal. If they wanted to, they could speak. If they wanted to get out of bed, they could. All motor functioning is still online. But without the communication of emotional knowing, what doctors would find, and what they've talked to some people who've recovered from these types of traumatic brain injuries, is that they just don't care. Without feelings, they didn't care to get out of bed. They didn't care that their body hurt. They didn't feel embarrassed about people having to come and take care of them physically. There was no reason to do any of that for themselves. The other reason why emotions are so important is because they allow us to connect with one another. If you didn't feel interested in your partner's mind, their world, or your children's mind, what they're doing, if you didn't have that desire, that motivation, the internal caring that says, oh, I want to know more, you would not be connected. And in the people who have traumatic brain injuries in a different area, there's 3 different places in the brain that actually help us to communicate emotions, so far as we know. And when different areas are affected by traumatic brain injury, you see different problems come out of that. Sometimes it looks like the not caring, not getting out of bed, And then in other cases, what it looks like is suddenly a person is different, where they used to be a kind and loving partner, a hardworking person, timely, nice, and then suddenly something happens and they're having affairs, they're spending all of the family's money, they're cussing at people and getting into fights, and they can cause huge separations. Or instead of connecting with people, we feel rejected or unsafe or just separate from. I'll probably go more in depth into why emotions are important in future videos, but that feels like a good beginning, just to understand, okay, why does this even matter? Why should I care? And so let's move just a little bit into the neuroscience, because I think it's helpful to understand what's going on in our brain and body so that we can better understand our emotions and track our emotions. So, the brain in my head has 86 billion neurons in it. And so that's 86 billion connections that are communicating information to each other. And then, wrapped around my heart and lungs, there's about 40,000 neurons. And then, wrapped around our gut, we also have about 100 million neurons. So there's gray matter in both the heart space and the gut space in everyone's body. And this is actually where we believe emotions begin. They start with sensations in these areas. Those sensations are communicated into the subcortical area. You might have heard of this as the limbic system, the like fight or flight part of the brain. Also the seat of our emotional brain. And so first our body feels sensations. Our subcortical area makes sense of those sensations, and then eventually we have a thought about it, or we act on it. So imagine I have butterflies in my stomach and my heart is squeezed. What that could mean in my mind is, oh God, I have a test coming up, or I forgot something really important at work. Those same sensations, butterfly in my stomach, tension around my heart, could also mean I'm starting to fall in love and I'm excited but nervous. And that's true for everyone. The different sensations that are happening here mean different things. And the more you can make space to pay attention to what's happening in your body, the more nuanced you'll become at understanding your emotional worlds. Which moves us into the last thing for today. A practice that you can do in order to begin building emotional intimacy. This is something to practice on your own, but then eventually bringing it to partners is the goal. So all of us have emotions. Some of us are more connected to our emotions, and it's really a range. And then there's also a range of how overwhelmed people become by their emotions. There are some people who become so overwhelmed, but they're not really connected to what's happening. And then there's some people who really don't feel super connected to their emotions. And all of that is based on what you've been taught about your feelings. Often you'll see different gender norms where women are more encouraged to express and feel their emotions, and men are taught to be stoic and shut things down. And so just being aware of like, okay, so what is my natural way of being right now? Am I really connected to my emotions? Do they overwhelm me and I don't really understand what they're telling me? Or am I a little cut off? Do I not feel them as much because I've been taught not to? And then from there, the goal is beginning to make a relationship with your emotional world. And initially, I always suggest to people to just stick to the really core basic emotions. And then eventually, as you become more nuanced, you can move towards the whole complex range of different emotional words we use and the different ways we describe emotion, because there are so many. And I'll actually share a list of different emotional words below the video, so you can look for that. But Initially, just sticking to the core ones that we learn whenever we're little. Angry, sad, scared, happy. And then there are some other core emotions too, but while you're beginning to practice this, it is easiest to use these really basic words. And what you can do is anytime you feel something, whether it's tension in your chest or sensation in your belly, or you notice you're having a reaction, take a moment, check in with yourself, ask the question, what am I feeling? And then wherever you're having the most sensation, you can just put your hand there. And through the palm of your hand, acknowledge what you're feeling. Right here, I feel sad. Right here, I feel scared. Right here, I feel happy. Whatever it might be. And then the next level of this is moving into vulnerable sharing. So often in relationship, what I hear people doing and what we do culturally in the US is that we say things which are thoughts, not feelings, and we pretend like it's a feeling. It's part of our language right now, where someone might say, I feel like you don't care about me. We haven't spent that much time together, and I feel like you don't care about me anymore. Which is really different from, we haven't spent that much time together this weekend, and I'm feeling sad and scared. I'm afraid that you're not as attracted to me as you used to be. Which one do you think would go better with a partner? The first statement, I feel like you don't care about me anymore, that is going to bring up defensiveness or a rejection of it. Like, of course I care about you. Why would you think that? Whereas the second one is a vulnerable share about what's going on inside the individual rather than what I'm thinking might be happening inside the other person. Sharing I'm sad and scared, that is more likely to disarm the other person rather than sending them into needing to protect themselves, needing to defend themselves. And there's more possibility of having a connection out of that conversation. Being more vulnerable and open in that way helps people come together. Or at least it has the potential to. And doing this over and over and over again, where you really truly share what's going on with you, will help you become closer first to yourself. And then after that, because we always have to move towards ourselves first, then after that you can move towards others and have the connections you want, build the relationships you want. Emotions have the power to bring us together or drive us apart. And by learning your emotional world a little bit more clearly, coming into contact with it, you can actually help yourself move closer toward other people. I hope this practice helps you as you begin to try it on and listen to your emotions in this way and name them in language that's a little bit more simple so that you can practice. Let me know how it goes. Leave comments. Tell me how your practice is going. And ask any questions that you have about emotions, because that'll give me direction for where to go next. What you might want or need more of. Intimacy starts with you. And you have everything you need to create the life, the relationships, and the love that you want. I look forward to helping you along the journey.